Welcome to the Wayfinder Psychedelic Podcast, a space for seekers, healers, coaches, and curious souls navigating the inner terrain of transformation. I'm Joi Whitmore.
And I'm Samantha McClinigan. Together we explore the intersection of wayfinding wisdom, psychedelic healing, and the magic that unfolds when we slow down and listen deeply to ourselves, to the medicine, and to one another. This podcast is part story sharing, part soul inquiry, part practical toolkit, all rooted in reverence for the feminine path of transformation. Let's begin.
All right. So we've got a great song going on in the background, but before we get to that today, I'm super excited because I'm actually in Washington right now with Samantha. I flew across the country because it was time for me to experience a truly supportive and well-held journey. So Samantha has this beautiful, amazing spot out on an island, and I was able to really disconnect, unplug, have a lot of rest that I think I needed. And I had my journey on Friday, and I felt like what's best to describe it was being in a fairy forest. I mean, just this amazingly green, beautiful valley. It was Fern Gully. That's what I said. If you've seen the movie Fern Gully, you know what I'm talking about. But it was amazing and just lush. And it felt magical, so I could definitely understand Sam's vision. There's a yome there right now, and I got to stay in this yome, and it was definitely, it was a little healing cocoon. Mm-hmm. I felt like it was a place where I could go and truly become complete goo. And I even had the experience of feeling completely relaxed, which for me, when I travel, is really hard to feel relaxed, even like having travel stomach, and I actually had no problems. So it was an amazing experience. The journey was rough, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I was going to start off by kind of getting into the topic for today, which is reclaiming ancestral wisdom. Mm-hmm. And, we are Martha fangirls, so, as much as I don't like to admit it. But, Sam, can you share about this podcast you heard that talks about the healer archetype and Martha's vision?
Yes.
And how that ties into us?
Absolutely. Is it okay also if I mention my journey?
Yes.
Yes, I want everyone to know.
Of course.
I want everyone to know that last September I did the same thing. I flew across the country and I went to see Joi, and she held space for me, and she has also put together this cozy healing cocoon, this sanctuary where I just felt so safe, so relaxed, so cared for. And she's also got, I like to call her woods. Her woods are so different from mine, East Coast versus West Coast, but her woods are enchanted. That's the word that I use. And not only that, we had a white doe stop by multiple times. Yes. So her woods, there's some serious magic there too. So we've got kind of this amazing East Coast, West Coast thing going. And I feel like that in a way actually fits into the story that we're about to weave. And this all starts with Martha. As most things do in my life, it goes back to Martha Beck. If you haven't listened to the Huberman podcast, I highly recommend it. It's really good, digestible science that is very practical for your everyday life. But you know what? I'm not the only Martha fangirl. So is Dr. Huberman. He's a huge Martha fan. And his episode with her on the show was so wonderful. And she told a story that I had actually never heard her tell before. And I've been following her for so long. She told this story about how she went to Africa a long time ago. She was, doing some spiritual seeking and learning. And, also as a sociologist, she was gathering data. And she, this one evening, had a dream of her ancestors. And in the morning, she told the tribespeople she was with about the dream she had had, and they ran away really quickly to go get the medicine woman. They brought the medicine woman to her, and this medicine woman said some things about Martha's life that Martha said, she could have intuited it, but she could have also just Googled it. So she, at the time, felt a little skeptical. But then the woman threw the bones for her. And she said that your work in this world is to find the healers, to gather people who fit a certain archetype, to gather them and help them reclaim the wisdom that has been lost. And then from there, the wisdom will be disseminated. And the way that she told the story was really, really powerful for me, because I realized that it was me she was talking about. It was and you, Joi, and all the way from all the healers out there. We are the ones that they were talking about. And so we've just been, as we're following this psychedelic path, doing this really important work, I am starting to see how it fits into a larger picture. One that has to do with reclaiming ancestral wisdom.
Right. And you're reading a book about this. What is it called?
It's called Ancestral Medicine, Rituals for Personal and Family Healing by Dr. Daniel Four.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was actually recommended to me by a local therapist who's very pro psychedelics. I won't name any names, but he couldn't say enough good things about this book. And it's interesting, the book became available. It's been on my hold list for the library for a long time, and it became available, Joi, right before your journey.
Of course.
And so the timing there feels a little synchronistic too.
Yeah. Did you said that you had an experience while I was there.
Oh my gosh.
In the Yom while you're reading the book. Do you want to share anything about that?
Sure. I was, there in the woods, alone, doing my medicine woman thing, enjoying some plant medicine, doing some reading, doing some meditating. And in the book, he states very, very clearly, multiple times from the beginning, don't contact your ancestors until you've read through this whole book. And I was like, screw that. I'm talking to my ancestors right now. Try and stop me. And you know what? I did. I just went into this meditative place where I could sense actually all the pain in my direct lineage. And I saw that there was just so much to be healed. And I knew that it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of work. But I knew that I wasn't alone, that I actually had healed, healthy, and whole ancestors who were still very much connected to spirit and connected to nature. And I'm not alone in this. They're helping me too. But I kind of did sort of an impromptu, kind of light internal family systems, IFS work with my ancestors. And then I had one ancestor in particular that came forward that has actually passed away pretty recently. And they told me that I needed to check in with one of my family members, that they were not doing well. And I did. And it was true. So, I'm sold. This is real.
Yeah.
We're not just imagining this.
Yeah. I feel like once you open the door, once you start reading a book or once you embrace it, then you start to see it show up in your life. Because for me, some things that showed up for me that my therapist helped me understand were, as we go through deeper levels of healing in this manner, sometimes we open up a portal. Here I'm going to get really woo and really deep.
Go for it.
We open up a portal to allow for other generations to pass down their stuff that they didn't have the opportunity to heal. Mm-hmm. And I experienced this in the form of overthinking, but in a way that was not even, amplified from me. And my therapist actually said, have you considered it could be some ancestral messages that you're now open to because you've done so much healing on your own. So I found that to be really interesting. What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness. You know what? That actually, you mentioned this. You mentioned this like a week ago, that you had some stuff come up with ancestors and realizing that some of the healing that you're doing is not just for you, it's for them too. And I believe it 100%. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like as we go down this path of healing, not just for ourselves, but for others, it's an inevitability that the ancestors are going to start coming up more and more often. So it's time to talk about this.
Yes.
Yes, time to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So over the last couple of weeks, I've had the same messages coming up over and over again, getting little bits and pieces here and there, but it wasn't until your journey weekend, and you had bits and pieces too, and it kind of felt like we were bringing it all together and bringing, a piece here and a piece there, and now we can see the whole picture. And a big part of this is that a few days ago, I came across something called the 7 Fires Prophecy. And I've been interested in indigenous prophecies for a while, particularly the ones that talk about how to help the world, how to save the world.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's going on spiritually, because you hear from so many spiritual teachers, and I think we have an intuitive sense of it as well, that people are waking up at a faster and faster rate. There's a lot of energy moving. There's a lot of pushback, obviously. And things are just so incredibly tumultuous, and we all want to know what's going on and how does this end.
Yes.
So, I was on Instagram a few days ago, and I just caught a little snippet, this little reel of this Native American man who is talking while he's weaving a traditional dream catcher, and he's talking about something called the 7 Fires Prophecy, and it's from the Anishinaabe people. And he just mentioned the very tail end of the prophecy, because it's very long, and it was given to the people over a long period of time from different prophets, and it all comes together to tell the whole story of the northern Native American people. But the 7 Fires Prophecy specifically states that at the end there will be 2 paths, and they're talking about the light-skinned people, that there will be 2 paths for them to take, and one path is beautiful and vibrant and lush, and then the other road, it says the other road will be black and charred, and walking it will cut their feet. In the prophecy, the people decide to take neither road. Not talking about the light-skinned people, but they also mention that there will be a new people that come with a very specific quest, and that their quest is to retrace the steps of the ancestors to reclaim the wisdom that was lost. They said that their steps will take them to the elders, who they will ask to guide them on their journey. And so these people, they decide that instead of taking these 2 roads, they're actually going to go back, taking neither road, and instead turning back to remember and reclaim the wisdom of those who came before them. And it said if they choose the right road, then the 7th fire will light the 8th and final fire. And this is more like, when they say fires, it means more like an age, or like a new level of understanding. So it will light the 8th and final fire, an eternal fire of peace, love, brotherhood, and sisterhood. It goes on to say some pretty dark stuff about the light-skinned race making the wrong choice and how that's all going to end in death and destruction. But we're going to do our best to avoid that. And that's why we want to talk about the ancestors. So we're realizing as we move deeper and deeper into this work that we can't just push forward without healing the past. And that has to do with like spiritual bypassing too.
Yeah.
And Joi, do you want to talk a little bit about how that actually reflects what we're learning with IFS, internal family systems?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's so many pieces to the IFS work, and in my own journey, I found myself, parts of me were really aggravated and frustrated and wanted things to be a certain way. And I imagine that we could tell ourselves, you know, just deal with it or just keep moving. I think that's kind of spiritual bypassing. Instead of like actually hearing the voices of what these parts or what these different aspects of our personalities are saying. They want to be heard. They have things to say. And in order to fully move forward, I believe, and even Dick Schwartz came up several times in my journey because I'm taking the IFS for Coaches training, and he's definitely believes that psychedelics and IFS go hand in hand, and here we are talking about Wayfinder coaching tools going hand in hand. I mean, all of those together are amazing, but you know, we do come in a culture where people are looking for the good feeling and the next best thing and to get past bad feelings. But that's what remembering and reclaiming is about, is going back and dealing with those things that are uncomfortable and don't feel good. And, you know, IFS forces us to do that and allows those feelings to be heard and come up. And if I can articulate it in my journey, what I was dealing with was there was a lot of dark thoughts about myself that were coming up, and rather than pushing them down in that moment, I decided to try and say, okay, parts, who's feeling the most suffering in this moment and who needs to be heard? And that was amazing. I mean, honestly, being in a journey and being able to navigate in that way, that was pretty intense. It wasn't comfortable though. It didn't feel good. I will have to say that, but it was necessary. Did I answer your question?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's awesome. Yeah. So I was just saying earlier to Joi that, you know, in like new agey terms, there's a lot of talk about humanity ascending, the spiritual ascension, the expansion of human consciousness, reaching the next level of our evolution. And it's not that I disagree with that. I think that sounds wonderful. But the way forward is actually to go back to the parts that are hurting, to go back and seek real, genuine healing and unburdening. And unburdening not for us, but for our ancestors as well.
Oh, yeah.
And not just that, but reestablishing a connection to our ancestors, because for every indigenous culture, ancestor reverence was a very big deal. And that's something that here in the West, in the United States, we're very disconnected from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that something you mentioned earlier when we were chatting prior to this recording was about listening to the grandmother song and what came clear for you when you heard that. Can you share more about that? And this is a song that you can find on Spotify, by the way. It's something that was brought to me in a ceremony in Costa Rica, and it was very powerful. But Sam was reflecting on how it affected her most recently when she's doing this deep dive into ancestral wisdom.
Yes. And Joi, you're actually the one that introduced me to the song, and I felt so drawn to it, and I wasn't even sure why, but it talks about listening to the voice of our grandmothers, speaking of our ancestors, and the directions say to stand in your power, to give birth, give life, to teach people to be wise, and to wake up. Those are the instructions in the song. And the other night, I had read this 7 fire prophecy. I don't know why, but I was thinking about my children, and I was sending them love, and I was kind of like asking Spirit, how do I help prepare my children for this crazy, crazy world that we're living in? How do I prepare them for the challenges and the suffering? And the answer, which I've come to many times, but the answer is always to pass on what you know, to pass on your wisdom, to pass on what we've learned in the Wayfinder training. And I just thought, okay, well, how do I do that? And the answer came to me that we become wise by seeking wisdom from our ancestors. That's how we become wise. And I spontaneously, as I'm like thinking of my children and I'm in conversation with Spirit, I spontaneously thought of the grandmother song, and I began to sing it as if I was like holding my children there with me and singing to them. It was a really beautiful moment. But then it occurred to me that this song, the reason why I feel so drawn to it, the reason I believe you introduced me to it, is that it is a very direct set of instructions. I believe that the woman who wrote this song has an intuitive connection, and she downloaded this song. It's very clear. It's very direct. And speaking of asking the ancestors for help and reclaiming this connection to them, I think that can feel a little awkward, right?
Yes.
Like, how do you begin? How do you begin doing something like that, right?
Well, I heard you have to say it out loud. That's the first thing that I read, is that they can't hear you when you think to yourself thoughts about, hey, ancestors.
Okay.
They do like it when you speak out loud.
Yes. So when I bought this piece of property on this island out here in Western Washington, I struggled a lot with feeling like, well, who am I to steward this land? Like, and I wondered, are the ancestral caretakers of this land, will they be mad at me, this white girl living here, buying this property, building her fairy retreat center? And somebody told me to go ahead and talk to them. Talk to the ancestors. Ask for their guidance. Ask for their help. Let them know what your intentions are. And so I did. That was one of the very first things I did. I was out there, my husband and I were doing some bushwhacking, and I just felt like I needed to lay down on the land, and before I moved forward any further, I needed to have this conversation with the ancestors. So I did. I laid down, and I got still, I got meditative, and it really felt like a one-way conversation. But that's okay. That's okay. I was just, letting them know who I am, letting them know my intentions, letting them know that I honor and respect them, and asking them specifically for their guidance. And then the craziest thing happens. Maybe a few weeks later, we're out there, and man, it's a lot of work. We would load up our tools in the morning. We'd go out there, we'd work all day, and then we'd have to load up our stuff again, come back home, unload it, and then go to bed. And it was a lot. It was exhausting. And for some reason, I felt like I had to hurry. I had to hurry up and get it done. I still struggle with that because it's a very big project. It's a very big dream. But I was out there. I was running out of energy. I was running out of time. And I had this, like gas-powered saw thing that I was using, and I accidentally hit the kill switch and shut it off. And instead of unstrapping this heavy thing and pulling the pull string to get it started again, I was just trying to wrench my back and get it started again, trying to pull it while it was still attached to my body. And it hurt, and I was frustrated, and I was getting angry. And then I swung this heavy piece of machinery right into my knee, and I swore.
Oof. Yeah.
I was out in the forest, and I swore loudly.
Which word?
The F word.
Okay.
And then somebody, maybe 10 feet from me, over by this group of trees, somebody hit a hand drum. Just one sharp tap on the hand drum.
Ooh.
And I heard it. I felt it in my being. And I knew that it was a grandma checking me. I knew it. And she wasn't doing it. She wasn't being unkind. She was just telling me, enough is enough. You're tired. Take a rest.
Yeah.
This is not the kind of energy you want to bring to this place.
Oh, yeah.
And I was freaked out. I'll be honest. I was scared. Oh my gosh. I unclipped and took that thing off so fast. I took several steps back and I said, I'm sorry. It won't happen again. Yes. So anyway, wild things are happening. And it's awesome. It's exciting. And I can't wait to see where it takes me. Do you have any good stories to share? Any good ancestor stories?
Yeah. I mean, aside from once I was preparing some medicine, it was in its incubation stage, I guess. I don't know. I was going from, inoculation to substrate, bulk substrate.
Fruiting conditions.
Yeah, and a song came on that made me think of my mother. And it's been a long time since I've really thought about the status of where my heart was with that relationship. And this song was Pink Floyd, yay, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And I just, in this moment, felt a sense of forgiveness while I was preparing this bulk substrate. And the song is really long. So that felt good. But then after that, things started to show up, what really felt like it was my mom sending me signs. The white doe never returned, but other does showed up. And I felt a sense of, also I told you about the therapist, and she's saying that maybe my mom told me, this was before that. So before that happened was this sense of forgiveness and this moment with the song. And with me and music, everything is connected. So that's, but in my grandmother, oh my gosh, the things, I could tell you so many stories about that. But when we were preparing for this podcast, you also said something that really stood out to me, that ancestors aren't always just our relatives.
Yes. So I get Liz Gilbert's Letters from Love. And if you are not signed up for that, I highly encourage it. Liz, if you don't know, she's the author of Eat, Pray, Love and a number of other amazing books. But she began this practice a long, long time ago, usually in moments of just like horrendous desperation, where she's like, okay, love, what would you have me know? And then she kind of like channels just this spirit of unconditional love, and it writes to her through her. It writes her these letters. And now it's a daily practice for her. And like once a week or so, she sends it out on Substack. And so I get these letters, but this one, I don't even know how old this one is, but I saved it and I've returned to it multiple times because it talks specifically about ancestors. She said, "Dear love, what would you have me know about my ancestors?" I won't read the whole thing, but I've got a section here that speaks to me. She, I don't know why I said that. Spirit of unconditional love, male, female, they, them, says
soul, which you just taught me, right?
Yes, spirit of unconditional love.
Yes,
soul.
Amazing. I love that.
And if you've done work with IFS and have really sat with your true self, you know that self and the spirit of love and creation, it's one and the same. Okay, so it says, first of all, where in the world did you get this idea that your ancestors disapprove of you? Secondly, we find it hilarious that you can still, after all the love that we've poured into you, be so emotionally insecure that you can unilaterally decide that a whole bunch of dead people maybe don't like you and perhaps are even saying bad and critical things about you behind your back. Okay, so there are two things we want you to know. One, you don't know jack shit about your ancestors. 2, Your definition and understanding of the word ancestor is woefully limited. So it goes on to talk about, our concept of ancestors and how they worked so hard for the privileges that we enjoy and we need to be grateful. But that doesn't tell us anything about the sound of their laughter or how they appreciated nature, or the feeling of air in their lungs. And Love says, my child, why do you think they did not love the world? Why do you think they did not love each other? Why do you think they do not love you? Stop thinking of your ancestors as the ones who sacrificed everything for your privileges, and start thinking of them as the ones who co-loved this world. And you will feel their hearts, and they will be more easily able to guide you and delight in you. Yes, delight. Next, and this is an important part, next, the definition of the word ancestor. Stop being so confoundedly literal. We're not only talking about your exact bloodline. Your ancestors are every woman who ever cast spells, every woman who ever knelt in a cave and prayed, every woman who ever escorted babies into this world or the dying into the next world, every woman who ever wrote songs, every woman who ever mixed dyes and pigments for paint and delighted in making art even if she was the only one who ever saw it, every woman who ever formed pots out of clay, every woman who tended seeds, every woman who loved her little dog, her little cat, a little bird, every woman who ever wanted to be alone, every woman who ever taught herself to read, every woman who ever knew God. These are your ancestors, and yes, they love you.
That's so powerful. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. You will feel their hearts, and they will be more easily able to guide you and delight in you. And you had mentioned the importance of, our work and storytelling, honesty, and vulnerability. Do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, just looking at the connections that have brought several of us together, it's generally been in moments of sharing a story, telling something that was authentic from our own perspective that really resonates with people. And we hope to do as much of that as possible. When we sit down to prepare, we actually just talk about things as if we're having our own conversation, and then jot down some bullet points. Okay, let's just have this conversation again, pretty much. And there's a reason for that, because, it's not bells and whistles. It's just us being real and talking like we normally do and sharing things that really are vulnerable for us. It's scary for me to talk about my journey here to Washington and being feeling insecure, dealing with overthinking, and being somewhat afraid to disconnect, to unbecome all the things that I am when I'm in technology and the internet. And we think and we hope that by sharing stories from that place, that we're just helping others by being authentic. What do you say about that?
Yes, I agree. And, if we bring the ancestors into that, I think that expands our ability to hold space for their stories too, and their vulnerability.
Wow. Woof.
Yeah. I wanted to mention one last thing, and this is going to get just incredibly woo.
Yay.
So Joi and I know the same astrologer, Brian Moon.
Is that his real name?
I don't even know.
I hope so. That would be
that's
wonderful.
His real name. I know, he was just born to do this.
Yes.
I think he was born to do this.
Okay.
So Brian Moon, he does something called evolutionary astrology. and he works with something called Sabian Symbols. And that's something, he said, it's real freaky territory. That's how he explained it to me. And there's a woman, let me see if I can get her name. There's a woman from San Francisco, Elsia Wheeler. And in the 1920s, she had intuitive visions, and she downloaded Sabian Symbols, and I think it's like a symbol for every single degree of like an astrological chart. And so as he's doing this like wildly in-depth reading about like my entire life, he's also giving me the symbols that correspond to each of my placements. And he said, my most important symbol, it's this Sabian symbol of a lineman at work. So 1920s fixing the phone lines, okay? And he said that this symbol has to do with healing lines of communication. He said that's the most important symbol in my life, healing lines of communication. And I did not understand it at the time. That was like a year ago. I was just like, okay, whatever. And I have also been drawn to go back and reflect on the reading that he did for me. And now in this context of reclaiming and healing, my ancestral line and helping people on a larger scale reestablish their connection to the ancestors and bring ancestor reverence back into our culture, and reclaim wisdom that was lost and purposefully destroyed. I can see now how that symbol really fits into this.
That's amazing. I'm blown away by that. Yeah. And I mean, just so much. Also, you helping me by facilitating for me in my journey. That also is part of that healing lines of communication as well.
Yeah, and we talked about this after your journey, that the work that we're doing, and especially guiding one another through journeys, this is some serious magical work. Yeah. We need the help of the ancestors. Yes. And I believe that we're not alone.
Yes.
We're not alone. Martha Beck would call this one of the ancient technologies of magic. That's, magic mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's as magic as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been, I feel like we're in the depths now. We're in the deep end.
We are.
We're talking some deep stuff.
I would have it no other way.
It's what happens when we get together in person. Things are really magical. And there's a whole bunch of other things that we don't even have time to share, but we will in future episodes, hopefully, just about things that happened while I was here. Yeah.
I'm also reading a book right now. It's called Ancestral Medicine, Rituals for Personal and Family Healing. And so for me, I think that's one of my next steps, is just diving in and learning more.
Awesome.
And I look forward to sharing about that soon too.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So for those of you who are listening, if you're not familiar, we do have a online community where you can learn more, join some events. And if you're on the West Coast, or if you're willing to come out this way, Sam, can you tell people how they can work with you at the Sacred Circle if they're interested?
I would love to have you. I would love to have you in the Wayfinder Psychedelic community. Like Joi said, we are big on honesty and vulnerability, just being real, authentic people. And so we want you to know you are welcome. You are welcome in our community. We would love to have you. And, I'm building Sacred Circle. It was never meant to be a place just to keep to myself. It was always made to be shared. So if you're interested in Sacred Circle, feel free to reach out to me. You can check out my website, SamanthaMcClinican.com. And I look forward to chatting with you.
Awesome. And thank you. Please let us know if there's more of anything that you want to hear. And we do have upcoming events, like our 8-week microdosing course starting later in the fall or early fall, but you can check our website at psychedelicwayfinder.com for that. But thanks for joining us, and just to say goodbye, I'm going to play some more of the grandmother songs.
Wake up, child, wake up, wake up, listen, 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 listen. I hear the voice of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the voice of my grandmother's song. She says, stand in your power, women, stand in your power. Listen, 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 listen. I hear the voice of my grandmother's
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again.